Daar is rooi.
I've never heard you say that out loud. What word did you just say?
They are red. They are red, whatever. So, daar is rooi voels in die lug.
Oh, you're speaking a different language. Sorry.
Yeah.
But you don't roll your
Afrikaans.
R in your English.
No, but
accent.
that's where the accent comes from, is that my tongue is used to going to those places that now that my English accent, that's what makes it different.
Well, if you're just joining us, welcome everybody. This is Pastor Crae explaining his beautiful accent to us.
Yeah. Speaking it more. We want to hear it.
No.
Yeah, that was kind of a fun way to start. I don't know. Every time we've been able to bring someone new onto the team, we've been able to get them on the podcast. Last week we actually said goodbye to somebody, our production director Morgan. But today, the opposite. It's the happiness of welcoming a new team member. So Crae is the new campus pastor over at Marshall. And
they keep telling me this.
They keep telling you this. So we're just using our podcast today here with Sarah to get to know you a little bit. People who follow the podcast often have commented how they like that this is a chance to get to know people that they didn't know before or new faces. You have an accent, but now we understand it, where it sort of comes from, I guess. But it's from South Africa. I would say I had, as we were leading up this podcast, it was like there were a few people that have asked who you are.
Yeah.
So I've been like polling what questions would people want to know. The most common question I've gotten for you among people is, what does kangaroo taste like?
I wouldn't know, Pete. Wrong country.
I couldn't get it out without laughing just because of your face. You had that.
I knew it was coming. I knew some Australian thing was coming. No, not Australian, Pete. Very far removed from Australia.
The thing is, I didn't even know people in South Africa cared or ever thought about that until you said something.
Yeah.
Like right when I met you, you were like, I am not Australian.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
what's
is that
the
a problem?
beef with Australia, if it's appropriate to share?
We have a love-hate relationship with Australia.
Because of sports, you said, or something, right?
Mostly sports,
Okay.
and I think there's a similarity with like culture and the culture of sport and the competitiveness of sport and the history of sport. So between cricket and rugby, I think it stems from that. And I
I thought you said sport.
Yeah, real sports, Pete. We don't need pads.
Cricket wears pads, don't they? They
Yeah,
wear, like,
not rugby,
helmets and stuff. Rugby's crazy.
Yeah, but I think there's this competitiveness between the two nations, and it kind of spills over to New Zealand as well. In they've really come to the fore in cricket, but mostly in rugby, they are our biggest rivals. So that whole space is kind of South Africa's arch nemesis when it comes to sport, and I think it stems from that. So there's this like love-hate relationship. We don't really hate each other.
Okay.
It's just
It's rivalry.
Yeah, it's like a cute
good,
hate.
clean
It's
rivalry.
not like a war.
Yeah.
That makes me
There's
feel
a
bad.
mutual respect, but there's a
What's strange about it, though, and this is hard for an American to get my mind around, like the distance is immense. Like we're not talking about like having a rivalry with the state, like Michigan versus like Indiana. Like,
well, it's the rest of the world, unlike you guys call it, you know.
but we don't have rivalries with countries that are like a 10-hour flight, right? Like, I mean, that's like a massively different. So when you guys play them in sports, they're like, you're playing like in the middle of the night and stuff, right? Like,
yeah, you're getting up early to watch a rugby game, or you're staying up late. Yeah, it's serious, and it is like a serious rivalry. That's
some committed hatred.
Yeah, committed
I
hatred.
respect that.
Yeah, and it's not like, you know, we actually compete across the world. Like I said,
gosh.
American thinks they, you know, World Series. I'm like, can you invite the world then to participate? You know, so there is a bit of a thing there. Yeah.
It's an oddity that I've always wrestled with. Whenever I see like American football players win the Super Bowl, I'm like, we're world champions. Like, we're the only country that plays this game. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, the World Cup is world champions.
Yeah.
Okay, so fun way to start our conversation. Let's take a huge step back.
Yep.
So you are from South Africa, but I think people would love to hear, like, just like why are you here? Like, what brought your journey to America? Were you born in South Africa? Maybe just kind of give a history of let people know kind of who you are and how you got here.
Born and raised in South Africa, 42 years.
And do you have, is your lineage like going back to like colonialism? I mean,
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, every South African or white South African comes from some form of colonial heritage. So yes, obviously, I'm a bit of what I call a pavement special.
A what?
A pavement special. So like a dog that's kind of been bred on the pavement, like all different breeds. Okay, so there we go. There's another.
You've just introduced us to cultural differences.
There we
I
go.
have no idea what you're talking
South
about.
Africans call it a pavement special, which means I've got a bit of English, bit of Welsh, bit of Irish.
We call that a mutt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Similar dynamic.
Like a dog with multiple different.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So my heritage, to define it, I would probably go English. Sarah's hosing herself here.
I'm sorry. I'm just collecting myself.
Yeah, but from a Norse perspective, obviously Norse being
What's your last name?
Norwegian kind of heritage as well. But there's a variety there. I don't think there's one specific.
But your family has been in South Africa for a while. Tracing back a couple generations at least.
Yes. Okay. My grandfather fought in the Second World War for South Africa. So
cool.
So we've been around there for a while. Yeah.
Wow. So you grew up there, met your wife in South Africa. You guys were, Delene is, I think you said you met like in school, right?
My mom remembers watching her be pushed around, like down the street by her mom in a pram. So
baby carriage in America.
Baby carriage, yeah. What you guys would call
stroller.
A baby carriage, stroller. So my grandparents lived on the opposite corner of the street, and my mom would go and visit, and Delene's mom would be pushing her around in the pram or the stroller. So we went to the same nursery school. We went to the same, what we call in South Africa, primary school, which you guys call elementary school. Then we went to Sister and Brother High School, and then she was actually singing at my confirmation in the Methodist Church, the confirmation. And I was like, I remember that one. And
I remember that. Very romantic. I remember that one.
That one will do.
And a couple of months later, asked her out, and so high school sweethearts.
You said, "Crikey, I get to meet that girl."
No.
Sure, by the Barbie with her.
So kind of 6.5 years dating, and then got married in 2008, and the rest is history.
So you had a lot of history, but not childhood friends, just from
afar. We knew of each other.
Okay.
We didn't necessarily like hang out as friends or anything like that. No.
Interesting. That's a lot of
and
history.
then she, I'm kind of leading the story here, has dual citizenship, right? Because of her parents?
Yes, yeah. So her mom came out as an exchange student in the 70s, and her dad's family were her host family.
Okay. And her mom is from Kansas area, right? Or Kansas City?
Her mom is from South Africa. Her dad is from Kansas.
Her mom came to America.
Yeah, her mom came to America.
And her father is from Kansas.
Yes, and her dad's family was her host family.
Here in America, okay.
And then they obviously met, got married, moved back to South Africa, lived there for approximately like 35 years. And then her dad came back, and that's the connection. So she's a U.S. citizen born abroad.
Okay.
Never lived here, but has citizenship in that way.
And both of you grew up in Christian homes?
Yeah. Predominantly. I think it would be safe to say, if my parents ever watch this, that they were cultural Christians, and I think that's the norm. It's like you go to Sunday service if you feel up to it on any given Sunday, and if there isn't anything else happening or anything like that, and then gave my life to Christ basically a couple of weeks earlier than seeing Delene at that confirmation service on that confirmation camp actually, and just the person who was influential in that was my youth pastor, who just really demonstrated Christ to me, who really, we as a youth group almost fell in love with her more than before we fell in love with Jesus, because we're like, what does she have? What is going on here? I think I went into confirmation kind of forced to do it from my parents' side. I think a lot of people do that. It's like the next step in your faith journey is to do this, and you will do it. Not that my parents are dictators, but it's kind of the cultural thing to do. And just we met her, and we were like, who is this? Who is this? And what does she have that is different? And through getting to kind of know her, we're introduced to Jesus, and they've just never looked back. And so,
Wow.
yeah, so that's kind of the story there.
So you finish high school, go to college. Now you've connected with Deline. You guys are dating. At what point did you get it in your head that maybe you wanted ministry and church work as part of your career?
I think it was more about fighting it than figuring it out. So when I gave my life to Christ, I think a lot of people immediately were like, you are called to ministry. There was no doubt. And I think in my own mind, there was no doubt as well. I was like, this is what I'm called to do. But in a lot of ways, I think I fought it. I was like, is this really what I want to do? And I kind of, in some ways, conjured up other ways to justify not going straight into ministry out of school. So some of that is probably God's grace, and some of that is me fighting that. But in my fighting, there were a lot of blessings that came out of it. So let me explain that. So I went out of school and I did a service year at a different church called Hatfield Christian Church, which is a large church in Pretoria, and then served there for 4 years. And that period was a lot of self-reflection, a lot of Christ doing a lot of work in me personally, dealing with a lot of stuff, doing counseling, doing a lot of things there. And then I went and studied something called adventure tourism. So I kind of ran from the calling in some sense, and was like, maybe God can use me jumping off things, climbing off things in some way in ministry.
Leading people on walkabouts through the
Yeah,
outback.
and I think the influential season, I think that was going around at the time.
Delivering them to Christ.
Delivering them to Christ by throwing them off things. But I think the influential book at the time was obviously The Wild at Heart, John Eldridge kind of dynamic. And that kind of grabbed my attention. And I thought maybe there's something here to ministry that I can avoid the bigger full capacity of ministry. And so I did that for 4 years. And then kind of God was like, listen, you have to stop. In essence, stop messing around. You need to get fairly serious. So then we transitioned, basically got married, obviously then started living together, so new roommates, new city and new jobs for the both of us all at the same time. It seems to be like quite a pattern with us, right? It's just doing big jumps of faith at any given season. And then I moved across and became the youth and young adults pastor at a church called Grace Point in Johannesburg. And then Deline was then also partly in youth, partly in kids church, partly in the discipleship. And our roles shifted a lot as we journeyed through those 8 years. I went from youth and young adults after like 4.5 years to becoming the campus pastor. Deline went to communications director / discipleship director. And so our roles just shifted. But we knew then that ministry was kind of, we were in and we weren't going back.
Cool. And then eventually you guys started your own church, right? Or took over a church?
Yeah, so we eventually got to the point of campus ministry. I was doing that, and God was going, either you got to go into the ordination side of things within the Methodist Church in South Africa, and the Methodist Church in South Africa looks very different to the Methodist Church here. They're just different in a lot of ways. Or we go and plant. And Deline and I spent weeks praying through exactly which of these is what we want to do, which of these is what God wants us to do. And eventually we planted a church called Hope House. But obviously planting a church means you have to do other things to survive. At that point Eli was only 8 months old. So we had this 8-month-old, and we're like, God, are you serious? Leave, because it was both of us leaving our full-time jobs in ministry to go and do this. And Deline went to go and work for uncle, some part-time, and I went to do construction, and all of that with my dad. So he basically, in a lot of ways, came out of retirement to help us. And we went and I did some construction stuff on the side while trying to get this church off the ground. So we did that, and then we ended up getting a phone call one day. I got a phone call from a young guy who was one of my youth back in the day. We started the youth worship team with at Grace Point, and he phones me and goes, "Hey, let's have some coffee." I'm like, "Sure, let's do this." So we went and had some coffee, and the next thing I'm in a conversation with him, and he's like, "By the way, I'm a worship leader at a church and we're struggling. Do you mind coming to help us preach and teach a bit? You know, Deline and you can rotate in and just help us with some preaching and teaching." We're like, "Of course, we'll help. What's the dynamic at the church?" And the next thing, we get called into from the elders of that church that was struggling, and they're like, "Hey, we would love for you guys to take us on." And we were like, "Okay, this is how God is like maneuvering this thing." But we were very clear with them. We didn't want to give up the baby that we had planted. We were firmly rooted in that. And then basically 4 or 5 months into running both and trying to navigate the cultures of two and trying to work that out, the dreaded C word came up and COVID happened. And here I was meeting congregation online I'd never met yet. And it was, everybody knows that was just a crazy season of trying to navigate churches. And when we came out of that, we realized that 90% of the people that were at the church we'd planted had suddenly come to the other one because they had the building and they had the space to do ministry. So we ended up not reopening the baby anyway, and just everybody had transitioned to the campus, and we had become one church, and therefore changed our name from Hope Ridge and from Ridgeway and Hope House to Hope Ridge, and just merged the two together. Led that for another 5 years, grew that ministry. God did incredible things there, and then we really felt the call of God, that our season of restoration, because I think that was the season we were in, was helping restore that church, get it back on its feet, and really give it the support in numbers, having merged the two, but also just restoring it health-wise and people-wise, and getting people really healthy to do ministry again. And then, we transitioned, and we really felt God leading us for the first time to come to the States. And here we are.
And when you felt this call to the States, there was no job. It was just go there, go to a land I'll show you.
Yeah, it was definitely an Abrahamic call. It just we questioned it because the church was now flourishing, and you look at ministry and you're like, man, what are we doing? This is crazy. We've put all this effort in, all these years into this ministry, and are we just going to walk away? Like, that's crazy. But God was clear. He was direct. We were again crying through it, most of it, just because of what God was calling us to do. And I did have an interview lined up for a church in Seattle. I kind of landed and flew directly out to Seattle. It was a bit of a crazy time to preach there. I was in the final phases of meeting the elders, preaching there that Sunday, teaching, doing the whole thing, and it just didn't work out. The theological stances on a few things that I thought I'd made quite clear were still murky for them, so I ended up calling it basically on the last interview and saying, "Nah, this is not going to work if this murkiness isn't clear." And then just 2 years of working backwards and forwards for myself. But Deline obviously got the job at the Bridge
in Michigan,
Portage. So
So that's what brought you guys to Michigan.
Yeah, that's what brought us to Michigan, and she served there for 18 months now. And we really felt like that was the next step for us. And again, I have a tendency to fight with God in a lot of things. But the biggest thing out of that was it gave me the time to settle into a new culture. It gave me the time to deal with a lot of things in my own thinking as to the transition. Just there was a lot of stuff going on. I was really struggling with what God had led me to, especially after that initial church didn't work out. I was like, okay, God, now what? So made myself available in a lot of ways to the Bridge. Preached there a couple of times, formed part of their preaching team. Served in the tech world for them, helped them bridge the gap, in a space that they were missing someone. And then, suddenly Kurt gives me an email, and the rest is history.
Kurt emailed you.
Well, I was put on the back burner from you guys. I'm not judging anybody, but I had reached out to Woodland before, and Kurt said, "No, we're busy with a bunch of people at the moment. If anything happens, I'll email you." So I was like, you kind of like, okay, cool, that one's done, and you kind of write it off. But obviously Kurt didn't. So
we were, I think some of that was a little blurry, but I remember we had somebody that just seemed like they were going to be the right fit. And your resume came in, and he's like, I got a guy from Portage. I'm like, well, let's figure this out. And I remember we had we'd gone through almost the whole process, elder board interviews, everything. He preached, and we were at a point where it was like, I remember having a meeting where with our exec team, it was like, hey, okay, we're talking about like compensation, making the job offer. Okay, what's the next step? Integration. And it was like probably like a Friday night, maybe. I was preaching that Sunday, and a lot of times I'll come in on the weekends and just run through it. And I came in, it might have been a Saturday night, and I couldn't like work on my message. I couldn't even preach it. I was in the auditorium, and I have my iPad. I'm like, yeah. I just started pacing, and I'm like, what is going on inside of me right now? And I didn't want to hear the answer. Like, I've ever had like, I don't want to talk to God right now because I'm really afraid what he's going to say. And I remember I was in our Zool chapel, like Saturday night, like it's dark. I'm just in the only one in the building. And I felt God say, this isn't it. And I was like, oh, I mean, we're now 7-8 months in. People are getting upset. Like, why? What's taking so long? And I'm like, I think we have somebody, and great guy. Like nothing wrong. Nothing like, oh, here's the problem. And the next morning, I think you were leading worship, Sarah. And I was in the front row, and I remember just having this moment of like, I forgot what song it was, but I just remember the theme of the song was something about trust, and it was like, he was like, do you trust me? I have the person for this. And the person you're at now isn't the one I've called to it. Sure. And I remember just standing there as the song was singing, thinking to myself, it's going to be such a hassle. Like, what are we going to wait another year and all that? Like, I don't know. And he's like, just trust me. And I remember before I even got up to preach, I'd already made the decision. Like, I'm going to move on from this person.
Sure.
And came in that Sunday afternoon. I was wrestling with God, and I said, God, I'm going to obey you, but I need something from you. And I had this, I'm not telling people to do this. I'm just saying this happened. God said, what do you want from me? And I said, I'm going to act on this, but I need you to start with my executive team. And I was like, put it on their hearts too.
Sure.
So I come in the office Monday morning, the next day, and I kind of have my quiet time alone, whatever. And then around 9:00 or so, I go to Kurt's office, and I'm sort of like bracing myself because Kurt is like, he's running HR. We've been in this process for months now, and I kind of take a deep breath, and I'm like, okay, I got to tell him God told me to move in a direction. What am I going to do here? So I walk in, and like, hey man, how's it going? He's like, good. He's kind of sitting there, and I'm like, you all right? He's like, Pete, I don't know how to tell you this, but I don't think we're supposed to hire that person. I was like, done. I walked out the door, and he thought I was mad at him because I was just like, and I walked out, and he's like, no, I'm not mad. That was the confirmation. And so we circled back around the table, and he's like, so do we repost it? What do we do here? He's like, we still have one person. I was like, give him a call. Go ahead. Let's whatever. And he came back to me probably in like 2 days later.
Random Australian.
He's like, I think this might be the guy. And so you and I had lunch, Chili's, and whatever it was.
Probably Chili's.
Probably
It was Chili's.
about 3 or 4 minutes in. I'm like, all right, this is the guy.
3 or 4 minutes in, and you made me sit there for like 2 hours.
Well, you got to sit there for 2. I gave you the privilege of 2 hours.
4 minutes in. What are we doing here, Pete?
You gotta get
Yeah.
your chips and salsa quote on that in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to just the strength of the conviction that you felt
Sure.
in that, because like you said, like nothing wrong with our candidate at all, but I always love when you get like a big bout of conviction, because I love when the Lord kind of jostles things, and you're not going to upset a hiring process for no reason. And especially at that point in the hiring process, like there was no reason to just say, well, let's just for fun, throw it all up in the air again. But yeah, Pete really did wrestle with it. And for a moment we were like, what's going to happen here? But I always get that curiosity, when the Lord does throw a wrench in things, and here he is,
What's so cool
very
though
cool.
is, and it's not cool because it sucked. But it was, in the end, it was cool.
Yeah.
The minute the whole process started, I just moved my family to Michigan. My own life is crazy. I don't even want to think about Marshall. I'm trying to figure out my own life. And I remember, like, God spoke to me and said, I have the person.
Pete loves you guys, just so you know, Marshall. He's
No,
not-
but I'm saying, like, that was
yeah,
in
it
that
was just
moment,
a lot going on.
What
Yeah,
was
crazy.
so difficult about that moment? When I say it sucked, it was like, it wasn't, I'm bringing this person tomorrow.
Yeah.
It was, take a deep breath, be patient, I have the person.
Sure.
So I'm going to the elder board, I'm going to the Marshall campus, and I'm saying, hey, we're going to take a breath, we're going to let this sit a while.
Yeah.
I'm going to Britt and saying, Britt, this could be a year, I don't know. All that I know is that God has the person. And we would have these meetings and we would talk, as we should, about, well, let's plan out structures and stuff, and should it be this? I said, guys, I don't know. I just know God has the person. And when that person comes, this stuff's going to be clear. And that's not a great way to lead. It's not a great way to make people happy. I didn't have peace in it, but it was also like, no, God has the person. And I think it's just like, what was so cool, what I didn't expect was, and I'm okay saying this, like, God pulled you from the other side of the planet.
Yo.
Like, I mean, and the whole
Yay.
time he's working in your heart to think about leaving. We're 3 or 4 years away from even needing you.
Yep.
Yeah.
By the time you get here, and even when you apply, and it's like God said, no, I have the person. And I was thinking, you used the Abraham example.
Yeah.
I was meeting with somebody and I was venting. Like, oh, and the person said to me, they went to the Abraham story, and there's this moment in the story, I'm sure a lot of our listeners are familiar, where God calls Abraham to go and sacrifice his son. They get up on top of the mountain, and God says, no, it was just a test. Well, he's like, what am I supposed to sacrifice? He's like, oh, there's actually a ram caught in this thicket. Go grab it. And the guy was like, there's a ram in the thicket. And, it's a very religious way of saying God has the person.
Yeah.
And
Please don't sacrifice me.
that's what ministry is. But I just, like, it was cool for me after this season, which I know for you is a much longer, more difficult season, of like, this was, nothing here is accidental. Nothing here was random. Nothing was like, you heard the voice of the Lord and you responded, and God spoke to people at Woodland. And like, I mean, I even saw people that maybe had some hard feelings towards Devin, like our previous campus pastor, like Devin felt the Lord call him to move on. And I think God was ready to bring you into this season. And so, I
don't think people understand the weight of that.
Yeah. It
Like
sucks.
I mean, kudos to Devin. Do you know what I mean? Like that's a huge. I mean, I'd just done that 2 years ago.
Yeah.
The weight of that you carry in that little season. It's a that you are moving on
and moving on when it's good and it's
when
healthy.
It's good, it's healthy, it's growing. It's
you put all this work into it.
So to the people of Marshall, you can't hold that over. Yeah, the weight of that he was obedient. You can't. Yeah, you can't get grumpy to him. Like that. Yeah. The easier thing for him to have done was to stick around, and because it's always easier to jump a ship when it's going down than it is when it's flying. When that ship is sailing well, and man, it's the sweet spot of ministry, right?
Yeah.
But when to obey the voice of God in that moment, man, the courage that it takes, it's second to none. So yeah, just kudos to him for.
Well, and Sarah, you
stepping
know
into
about that right now. That's your life.
Yeah,
right now.
that's your life right now.
I jumped
How's that going?
Good. I mean, it is going good.
You talked about seasons.
I still have one foot in, I'm here, but
before you left, you talked to our staff. You gave a word to our staff just about seasons and different seasons and seasons of, what do you say, like reaping and enjoying the harvest versus seasons of planting and it's like sometimes even stepping out when the season is like, this is the best season to be here.
Yep.
But not knowing at all what the next season is. Which is kind of where you're still at. And Crae sort of landed a journey, but you're still in the middle of it.
Absolutely. And I think watching things and movements of God like this over and over again have been so encouraging in that way, because there is the real tension of wanting to steward your time, your congregation, when you're in a position like you, Pete, to where like you have congregants that are looking at you that don't know the behind the scenes, that maybe aren't sitting in discernment in the same way that, an executive team is, just kind of waiting. They hear announcements, in a timeline that feels maybe it's quick to them, maybe they didn't hear all of Devin's wrestlings and his timeline that we were privy to, so but I think that just observing this has been so critical, even just in my own heart, of just realizing how important it is to obey. Well, first of all, to know the voice of the Lord, like know his voice, because the path that you're supposed to take often does not look how maybe your flock is asking you to lead them,
or even what your heart might want to do,
or what your heart wants to do. I saw you stewarding your time with a hiring process very well. You guys were, actively interviewing, walking in a direction that you thought was correct, but then you also had the wherewithal to be very open and, have your ear to the Spirit, to when the Lord said, no, you could adjust, and you knew that regardless of, social consequences or just even misunderstandings or just, not being privy to the process that we were in, that was worth it. It was worth the upset. It was worth the delay, because making the wrong decision, is detrimental, even if it solves a more immediate problem, air quotes around solves. Like, I don't know. I've just seen it over and over again, how just an allegiance to the voice of the Spirit in his time is not just helpful, but it is everything. So I'm thankful that you're willing to do that. I mean, I wouldn't want to be at a church that didn't do that, because a church ran, just on human timeline, and even just off of the best of the human heart is not effective. So it encourages me in my own season, is what I'm trying to say, in a long way.
It's such a tightrope to walk.
It is.
The burden of leadership on that, in that way, is it's a heavy weight to bear, but it does. There's a lot of discernment to that. There's a lot of spirit, but also kind of like counsel, and how you manage that. It's like he went to Kurt because he understood this isn't just his responsibility. He has put the people around him to hold him to that. I'm speaking as though you're not in the room, but but ultimately the decision is Pete's, you know, and that there's wisdom in that. There's wisdom to go, hey, Kurt, I need you to hear this. You're probably going to kick back on me here. And then for Kurt to turn around and be the one and bring the confirmation of it. There's this move of the Spirit being connected to who the Holy Spirit is and what he's doing with the wise counsel that always brings clarity. Just always does. Yeah.
And God is good, you know, like, it's not like he leaves us hanging. I think that's the thing is like, you know, I think I was talking to my daughter about this the other night. She's my daughter, Kira, she's 16. She got on a plane by herself yesterday and flew to South Carolina. There's like this 2-week thing for like high school students. It's like biblical worldview training.
Okay.
She doesn't know anybody, like, and she's an introvert. Like, she's a homebody. That's completely outside of her personality. But my wife's parents kind of paid for it and encouraged her to go. So she was going to go with her cousin. Her cousin had to back out. So literally just going by herself.
Sure.
And we're sitting on my patio the night before and you know, talking about she's clearly nervous, a little bit scared. And I remember I said something to her where I was like, I don't know if it was the thing she needed to hear. Probably not. It was just me talking. But I said, you know, the thing is, it's always the scary things that end up being the most fun in the end. And it's like when you step and take those risks, it's what's on the other side of those is always the things that when you're 70 years old and you're talking about your life, those are the things you're going to remember. Those are the things that actually bring like, oh, that was cool. You know, it's not just, oh, I watched a Netflix documentary. Like, you don't remember. Like, just living normal life isn't what you remember. When God has a step out and risk and try things, it's like life is just, all of a sudden, there's more color in life. There's more, like, vibrant. There's, like, you're alive, you know? Like, as opposed to just, oh, doing another day. So, as much as I don't particularly enjoy the process of the fall, like, it's like, free falling, skydiving, you feel alive, you know what I mean? Like, I can't sleep through this. So, and then on the other side of it, to be able to sit on a podcast like this and be like, yeah, God had us the whole time.
Jeez. And it also gives you some chops to invite other people into trusting him.
Yeah, for sure.
Know, which
absolutely
powerful too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Taking a risk with God is just, man, it's just, I don't know what my life would be if I never, it would just be boring and like nothing would have ever happened. And I definitely wouldn't be a lead pastor because I didn't want to do that. Didn't think I could, didn't think I should.
It's that you get a kick out of fear. And this is something we said to you the other day, is like the fear, you know, that you have, and that's what she's talking about. It's like stepping out in faith. This is redefining fear for yourself. It's like fear shouldn't prohibit me from doing it. It should be putting me on my knees and going, okay, God, this is going to happen because you've ordained it. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know how it's going to work out, but the fear is going to make me come alive.
Yeah.
And there's joy in that. In the moment it sucks, but there's joy in that when you look back and you're like, man, I felt alive actually.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, family of 4, 2 kids. Eli is 12, going
13 in August.
Mackenzie's 9.
Yep, just turned 9.
So they're going to start new school here in a month.
Jeez.
Getting settled here in the Battle Creek area.
Yep.
And how are they doing with all of this?
I think they've just kind of going with the flow. I think there's always those elements of fear. New school. I mean, it is rough when your kids have to have started new schools 4 times in like 3-4 years. I think that's there's an element to that, but I think it's something. The benefit for me in their lives is that there's no materialism for them. There's no they're not attached to stuff. They're not attached to places. They're like, it's the people that matter. And they've learned that at 9 and 12. You know what I mean? Like, we sold everything, gave away everything, kept the bare necessities that have been in storage for 2 years now because the joy of the mission house that we got the privilege of staying in had everything already in it. So we haven't seen our furniture, we haven't seen anything, and they're just like, okay, well, if God has called us to this, then this is what it is. And there's for your 9-year-old to turn around and tell you that, it's like, okay, if nothing else, this is worth it.
Wow.
That the kids have learned this dynamic of God's got us. Like, what is the problem? You know, and they have their moments. Kenzie will go to bed at night and be like, oh, I miss home. Or, you know, they're still kids, but just on the broader scale, they just like, if God has called us to do this, this is what we're doing. And there's just power in that when your kids do that, yeah. So.
And Delene actually is going to be joining our team as well, a part-time role, helping you at the Marshall campus, especially with kids ministry there and things. And I'm told she's a preacher. I haven't heard her yet, but looking forward to that. And
you might transition me out and transition her in.
Delene is a very. I haven't spent a lot of time with her yet. Just times we've had like dinner and stuff, but she seems like she was she like a really good student in school.
Oh yes.
Yeah, she seems very intelligent and.
Oh yeah.
We were. It's a funny story. We were at the Marshall campus. We're hanging out at your guys' like picnic barbecue after the service, and we were talking about cultural differences or something, things you don't see in Marshall, and I don't remember exactly this. She goes, well, you know, there are a lot of vestiges of colonialism still around that. And I said, well, one thing you'll never hear in Marshall is the phrase vestiges of colonialism. But she's very intelligent, very, very, but I'm looking forward to like having her on the team as well and joining. She's wrapping up still some things at her previous role. Yeah. So August, she's going to come. So we'll get her on the podcast as well and let everyone get to know her as well. And we're going to be semi-neighbors here in a couple days.
Ooh.
You're moving into my neighborhood.
That is true.
We're going to, it's very close, very close. Like with like a couple blocks away.
It's like 2-minute walk.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
cute.
I have to pretend, I don't, you know.
We can throw s'mores at each other.
Yeah. It'll be like
one little morning run.
We can run like a one of those strings with cans across our neighborhood.
I don't know if you can keep up with me.
I couldn't keep up with anybody.
Maybe little walks.
Yeah, a slow walk.
I'll run past his house and TP it and then like carry on running.
Yeah. This is good, man. One final question. Not necessarily a serious question. We joke about stuff. Like I think people in America probably you probably get this question a lot. So you probably like. I think a lot of people are probably like, so when you come here, what have been some of the, I don't know, I don't want to say hard things to adjust to, but just like, what? Like about American culture, like biggest adapters of just like day-to-day culture have you struggled with or found funny?
I think obviously there's a few language barriers that I've had to overcome.
Metaphors and idioms don't always translate.
Prams and strollers and, you know, those kind of things. I think the biggest thing, obviously being in church circles, has been I've wrestled with the dynamic of comfort. Comfort in the American church. You know, the aircon's too the ACs are too high, too low. The coffee's too cold. You know, and I'm just like, guys, is this church? Like, what are we doing? You know, so I think. Part of that has been the 2 years of figuring that out. What is my role in the American church? Because for the most part, people go, but the biggest need is in Africa. What are you doing? You're going the wrong way. Do you know what I mean? So, and I'm going, if I'm going this way, what is it that I bring? And it is the diversity of culture. You know, when you come from a place where the need is so big, but you have every tribe and tongue literally sitting in front of you in your congregation, and you have 11 official languages in a church, and you're trying to navigate different tribal connections and languages, and how do you do that? And you're intentional about that. It becomes part of your DNA. It becomes part of this is how we do church, like the diversity. So coming over here and you know, we were starting to integrate, you start to integrate vernacular songs into your worship. I don't know if you could get to that point here yet.
What do you mean by that?
So can you imagine doing a Spanish song?
Oh, in multiple languages. Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
It's cool though.
where I think your congregation might go, yeah, but I don't know the words. You know, it's the little nuances of comfort that you have to navigate, and I think that's the biggest gift that I bring. So it's a long answer to a short question in terms of cultural differences. Is I bring a diversity of thinking and challenging people to, you know, comfort is not your friend. Comfort is not your friend. In fact, the biggest faith killer is comfort. It is, and if your pursuit is comfort in the church, we have a problem.
Did you ever see this is probably an American thing, but social media, there's something called the Babylon Bee. Have you ever seen that?
No?
It's just a people that just do, it's funny jokes, sarcasm on the internet, but it's all based on, like, they're like fake headlines for like Christians. And it was popular for like 5 or 6 years ago. It got really popular. One of my favorite things they ever did was the headline. I'm not mess it up a little bit, but it was basically like, Chinese man crawls through 2 miles of mud under razor barbed wire and machine gun fire to find church with better coffee. There's a picture of a guy like crawling through the mud. I just church shopping, hopping. It's finding more comfort. It's such a real thing here. And I've something that I think we need to keep, you know, not it's not about trying to like make people feel bad or guilty, but just like think about this, like what is this, what's going on here, and what are you looking for? More comfort, more entertainment, all this kind of stuff. So it's very America. Well,
and just realizing that like the sleepiness of spirit is just as, you know, it makes the Lord mourn just as much as the chaos of our situations. Yeah. You know, and we forget, like, I mean, we're going the wrong way. Are you? We're asleep. Yeah. You know, like hunger with a full spirit. I mean, don't quote me on all that. Like hunger with a full spirit. I mean, I don't know. If the Lord would say that is worse than.
Have you seen the what's very popular right now? Again, I'm not on social media, but people send it to me for sure. The big trend right now are people from foreign countries coming to America for the World Cup, posting these videos of Costco and unlimited refills and like burritos as big as your head. Everything is like how great America is. It's all related to like how much food we have and how comfortable it is and how, which is like, I don't look at that and necessarily think like, oh, that's a bad thing. It is what it is. Like, in some ways, it's a blessing to have some. But you then think like, how has this affected me in even the way I approach Jesus in church?
How do you steward that?
A consumerism that is just so ingrained in what it means to be American for the last 70 years. Like, we are shoppers, we are buyers, we are pandered to through media and marketing to get our money because we have a lot of it. And then it's like, how do I not bring that into the church with me? So to have someone that wasn't raised in necessarily that culture as much come into it, it's always interesting. It's almost like a mirror walks in and reflects what you are, and you're like, oh.
It's exciting.
So I'm looking forward to some of that. I'm looking forward to the ways that God's gonna use you to help refine us and continue to help steer us. You know, not just you're stepping in as the Marshall campus pastor, but you're also stepping in as part of our executive leadership team as we make decisions for the whole church of Woodland. So I'm excited for that, for your family. I don't know if I'm excited to be neighbors or not. I guess we'll see. We'll find out.
Well, it boils down to who's going to move.
It's just a matter of what, you know, like, are these weird neighbors? I don't know.
I'm far enough away.
But no, grateful for you being faithful, like I said yesterday. Saying yes to the call. And I'm grateful for the Lord to bring you. Looking forward to what's going to be. So, with that, any other final thoughts or words of wisdom on the way out?
No, sirs.
No.
Thanks for being here, Crae.
Excited to be on board.
We're going to keep diving in. We're obviously took a little break from talking about Matthew today. We're going to be in Matthew for a while. We're about to start a new section of Matthew, but we got one more in this one. We're at the end of chapter 10 here, and Then we jump into kind of some conflict and things we see in the gospel. So there'll be good conversations in this podcast in the next coming weeks as we keep going in together. So, but we'll pick it up next time with, I don't know. We'll see where we go next week. But it'll probably be something about Matthew. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week, guys. Thanks, everybody.
Goodbye.